She's a beast. Look at that. That is a gorgeous looking Bushmaster. And what's really crazy about these snakes is they have such a huge strike range, such a long strike range. They are able to shoot out like it's nothing. Some snakes have a 6-foot strike range. It is incredible. They can go from the floor to your chest with their fangs. It is incredible the power they possess in their venom glands, let alone the size of their fangs. They truly are one of my favorite species of snake on the planet. Give them a nice soak, let them hydrate. And if you guys are new to these Bushmasters and you haven't seen previous videos on them, I take them out of the enclosure to soak versus soaking the enclosure itself, because if you keep their enclosure too wet, they develop something called red belly, and it could be potentially fatal and destroy your snake's belly and rot its scales. Look at that. That's a stellar looking snake. Pseudechis colletti, the Collett snake from Queensland, Australia, only found in very remote parts of Queensland. This is top 20 venomous snakes on the planet. What is going on? Beautiful people! Why am I wearing the same clothes? Because it's quarantine. I don't care. Nothing new has happened. I've been wearing the same shirt for 3 days. And if you have a problem with it, like this video. Now, for today, we're going to be cleaning up some muy caliente, a big nasty, as you can see. Get the close look. Zoom in, zoom in, zoom in. Now zoom out, now zoom out. Spicy meatball! That is what we're getting into today. Yeah, I said it. A lot of you guys are saying, he hasn't said spicy meatball in a while. Some people are freaking out. Some people are happy about it. Well, I'll say it once in a while because it's my code. Spicy meatball. Mamma mia, look at that. That's disgusting. So that big spicy meatball belongs to my female Bushmaster. And as you can see over here, she's shed as well, which I'm super excited about because this snake is my favorite species of viper on the planet. It's the largest species of viper, the Bushmaster, exceeding upwards to 11, 12 feet long. That's a massive pit viper. Lachius muta is this specific species. There are multiple species of Bushmaster, and what we're going to be doing is cleaning out her cage, and also the male, I'm going to take him out and soak him, so they're both going to get a nice soaking. So what I want to do right now is first reveal the Bushmaster. She's hiding right under here. Look how beautiful she is. And these guys grow like weeds. I've had this snake for about a year or about 10 months, growing like crazy, eats like a champ. She's a beast. Look at that. That is a gorgeous looking Bushmaster. And what's really crazy about these snakes is they have such a huge strike range, such a long strike range. They are able to shoot out like it's nothing. Some snakes have a 6-foot strike range. It is incredible. They can go from the floor to your chest with their fangs. It is incredible the power they possess in their venom glands, let alone the size of their fangs. They truly are one of my favorite species of snake on the planet. And they're so unique in so many different aspects. For example, that thorn that they grow on their tail, they have a special modified scale that actually turns into almost like a scaly thorn at the tip of the tail used to rattle leaves, mimic a rattlesnake. Look at that. She is such a beautiful snake and eats with no problem. Now, what's really interesting is she grows so quick and she has such a long strike range that a good friend of mine a couple months ago was actually bitten by a Bushmaster this size just because he had been raising the Bushmaster. It's around that size. He had an enclosure like this. It was in the corner. I believe he was trying to feed or do something like that. Didn't realize how big and how fast this thing was growing, and it launched out and got one fang into his hand. Luckily, he had anti-venom on stock, and he started to inject himself because he's a trained professional, and he was able to get to the hospital and get that treatment. So that's pretty wild. He survived Lachius muta, silent death. Yeah, big shout out to my homie Joe. He's the one who was bitten by the Bushmaster, and when this whole coronavirus outbreak happened, he was just like, I'm not scared of coronavirus. I survived a Bushmaster. I'm supposed to be dead. And I'm like, good point, good point. We've got the Bushmaster right here. What I'm gonna do is put a lid on the can for right now because I wanna clean her enclosure, and then I'm gonna take the male out, put him in there, and then I'll soak them together. I'll spray them down. So first things first, we got one whole shed bundled up right here, which is amazing because that means no stuck shed, proper humidity. I'm doing things right. There we go. Because you wouldn't want to help remove stuck shed off a Bushmaster. I've had to do it before, and it was not a small one. It was about a 9-foot Bushmaster. That was fun. But look at that, a full shed from my female Bushmaster. Eye caps, everything, inside out. Look at this. That's a good sized snake. The snake shed stretches a little more than the actual snake, but this definitely gives you an estimate of how much the snake is around. So just take a couple inches off and that's about the right size. That's awesome, a Bushmaster shed. Since I own the snakes and I'll get plenty of sheds in the future, I'll just leave this aside for a friend that might want it, or in the future a guest that comes to the park. Obviously not around these times, you're gonna have to wait a couple months. I gotta clean up the spiciest little meatballs right here. Mamma mia, spicy meatball, yes. Let's see the water. I could definitely change that water. Give her some fresh water. Look at that. That is something else. That is a whole lot of juiciness. Now the thing about Bushmasters is they're kind of like arboreal snakes, like green tree pythons, emerald green tree boas. What's another one? Waggler's pit vipers, snakes that live up in the trees that tend to not get constipated, but they tend to hold their fecal matter for a long period of time, and then a couple weeks later they dump it all at once. So the Bushmasters are one of those species that will just dump several meals at once. So it's a 1 or 2 meals, maybe even 3 meals that he didn't want to drop into the special occasion of a Corona. I am using paper towel just to keep an eye on these snakes, because at one point they did have mites, and I've been trying to keep it real simple with these snakes and not put any mulch in there, just so I can keep them nice and clean and keep a good eye on them. So paper towel for now, and then in the future, possibly move to some sort of other substrate to put at the bottom instead of just paper towel. But these snakes are very fragile, although they are such a potentially deadly animal. They do need to be cared for and under eye regularly, because if you don't hydrate them enough, if you don't keep them at a certain temperature, then you might end up cooking your snake, or freezing your snake, or dehydrating your snake, or overhydrating your snake. Bushmasters are very complicated, and they're not for the average venomous collection or display. So it takes a lot of care and time to put into these guys and make sure they're doing well. So I'm gonna put that hide back in, nice and clean in there now, and I'm gonna go get some fresh water for my Bushmaster. All right, I got some fresh water, gonna put it right here. And now what we're gonna do is take care of the male. We're gonna take him out, and let's see, his water. Yeah, we'll clean that in a second. Let's get him out first. So we gotta be very careful. Use my tool to open this up, because he could easily strike right about here. And although he's not as big as his sibling, he still has the potential to really mess you up. I'm gonna just gently coax my snake hook right underneath the coil and scoop the Bushmaster out. Look at that. That's a good looking snake. It is incredible that these snakes develop spines all over their body. These modified scales that actually feel and look like pineapple. Let me get them out. Ugh. And this guy needs to poop too, because I can see he's got digested rodent inside him. This is incredible, look at that. She's a little upset, you can see she's flattening out. That is so cool, a can of Bushmasters. All right, so we're gonna soak the Bushmasters. Look how beautiful she is, look at her. Such a beautiful snake. Give them a nice soak, let them hydrate. And if you guys are new to these Bushmasters and you haven't seen previous videos on them, I take them out of the enclosure to soak versus soaking the enclosure itself, because if you keep their enclosure too wet, they develop something called red belly, and it could be potentially fatal and destroy your snake's belly and rot its scales. So this is how I hydrate my Bushmasters. I just take them out and soak them in a separate container. And I learned this from a good friend in Costa Rica, Victor Jr. down at the Arnell Eco Zoo, because they have Bushmasters, and they've also found them in the wild. So they've been working with them for a very long time and giving some very good tips on how to keep these guys nice and healthy. Look at him. You need to go poop, dude. You got a big belly. I'm just gonna stick the lid on the can for now so I can check out the male Bushmaster's enclosure. Make sure it's nice and clean. The paper towels aren't too dirty, but I can see there's still a little bit of blood from his last victim. So I think I'm gonna change that out just because there is a little bit of bacteria sitting in there. So let me get some fresh paper towel, throw that out. And where is, thank you, paper towel god. All right guys, I got some fresh water. Just gonna stick it in the corner right there, put the hide back. Perfecto, perfecto. All right guys, now I can get the glass back up. There we go, perfecto, perfecto. And now we can put the Bushmasters back. Let's make sure we don't have any heads poking up here. No mistakes with these guys. Look at them, so beautiful. I love Bushmasters so much. It's such a pleasure to have them in captivity and be able to work with them like this. And I cannot wait for them to get bigger. Of all the Bushmaster species, Latius muta is the biggest. All right, we've got the male right here. Support him. See, I'm holding the portion of intestines that have digested a rat, or at least the colon area. It's full of digesting rat. So I'm not trying to get bit by him, but I just want to make sure I support him nice and comfortably so we don't cause any eruptions, whether that's out of his cloaca or inside his belly. Make sure he's nice and comfortable. Get him to go in. Go ahead. Such a good looking snake. We'll walk that in a second. All right, guys, that's the big female Bushmaster. We're gonna put her back, let her go on back into her hide, let her relax. Now she has a nice clean enclosure, fresh water in the water bowl, and she's soaked, looking good. We'll do another feeding video with them pretty soon. Let me just lock that up, easy as that, and lock up that enclosure. Sweet. All right, guys, we have one more enclosure to clean. We are gonna be taking care of our lovely, good, strong Australian snake. Meatball, the Collett snake. He's doing really good. He actually shed as well, so we're gonna clean his enclosure. He's got poop in there. He could definitely use a nice cleaning. Let's see, where is he at? He's in his hide. Sweet. Okay, so I have already gotten this cleaned out. We're gonna put the can right there. Look, he's coming out. He'll actually investigate if I move my finger around in front of the glass because he thinks it's a little snack. What are you doing? What are you doing, Meatball? He's such a character. Look at this. Come here, Meatball. Come here, Meatball. Look, it's a me. Come on, Meatball. What you up to? All right, let me get my snake hook. What you doing? Sniffing that skull? Getting a little taste? Let's see. Come here. Little meatball. Oh, relax. Look at that. That's a stellar looking snake. Pseudechis colletti, the Collett snake from Queensland, Australia, only found in very remote parts of Queensland. This is top 20 venomous snakes on the planet. I believe somewhere around 19 or 20, but they're definitely top 20. They have such a potent venom because they are from the Elapidae family, straight out of Australia. This individual is captive bred, of course, because we can't get anything from Australia because they do not export wildlife. Look at that. Just shed a day or so ago, looking beautiful, red as can be, and that's why we named him Meatball, because he's red like a meatball, isn't that right? Good looking snake. And what's really crazy about this snake is that their venom has the capability to take away your sense of smell and taste permanently if they were to bite you and give you a serious envenomation. Along with red-bellied black snakes, which are also in the Pseudechis family, the black snake family. Look at that. And they do look like a red-bellied black snake. They have the structure of one, they just don't have the same coloration. Look at that. Such a good looking snake. He's just investigating. He's pretty well behaved too. He's not like Mr. Brown. who's always all over the place trying to nip at something. But you know, it's all how you handle the animals and the energy you give out, what you get back. Like he's just investigating, he's looking around. He's like, can I bite your shit, Mike? Can I bite your shit? All right, so what I'm gonna do is put the snake right here. There you go, Meatball. All right, guys, I'm gonna put the lid on that so we can start cleaning this out. Let's see. And this is really good that he's shedding like crazy because he's not a full-grown Collett snake. He can actually get upwards to 6 feet long, so that's super exciting that he's growing because one day he's gonna be a big red beast, the meatball, the spiciest of all the meatballs. Yeah, mamma mia. Woo, he said it again, he said it again! Woo! All right, so let me grab that little meatball out of the corner. I think that's about it. We don't have too much to clean with this guy because he's not the biggest of the snakes, so he doesn't make big meatballs. Oh, this is cool. Is that what I think it is? This is pretty interesting. So this is the head cap of Meatball, the Collett snake, and he pooped on his head cap. Look at that. That's very interesting. I guess that piece didn't come off, that shed didn't come off in one whole chunk, so this head part came off last, and then he just pooped on himself, pooped on his skin. That's gross. All right, so we got it nice and clean in here. Meatball can go back in his enclosure. His water's good to go, and we can put Meatball back. So let's see what he's doing. There we go. He's just chilling. He's a good snake, man. He's not all over the place. They're such an interesting species, and they're so hard to find in the wild because they're in such remote parts of Queensland. I would love to find one of these guys in the wild. I feel it would be a challenge, but it would also be very rewarding because they're such a badass looking snake. Look at that. Such a cool snake. And Ricky, my good friend from Australia, who's found nearly every reptile you can think of out there, he was telling me that in all the times he's looked for Collett snakes, the only time he's ever found a Collett snake is dead on the road once, his whole life growing up in Australia. So it's pretty crazy. Hopefully, in the future, we can see one of these guys in the wild. You wanna go home? There you go. As he gets bigger, we'll upgrade his enclosure because like I said, he's gonna get upwards to 6 feet, so he's gonna need a big vision cage eventually. So when Kevin gets his custom built walk-in enclosure, maybe I can hold on to one of these big 6-foot vision cages for Meatball when he's big enough. All right, locked, secured, fantastic, wonderful, beautiful, extravagant, marvelous, lovely. I hope you've been washing your hands. I hope you learned a lot today. And I hope that you truly respect the snake. This has been another Wild Life with Chandler. Chandler's Wildlife. Mr. Wild. Call me Mr. Wild. My dad was Wildlife. Just kidding. He doesn't like snakes. So I'll see you on the next one. Stay beautiful. Stay safe. Wash your damn hands and stay gangster. I'll see you on the next one. Go! I love